then when I saw why it's being very difficult, and I say, okay, there are too many. I think it's something on Zoom side. Good point. Good thing to be raised.
Earlier, I thought it is some glitch with my end, so I tried to rejoin the Zoom
Mhm.
meeting, but then it was not getting resolved.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, okay, somebody here says, let's play Find 50. That's like a good joke.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shubhendu, I have been told that the this call that we have right now
Hmm.
is also being live streamed on YouTube, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So before we begin, I just want to set
Hmm.
the context in place.
Hmm.
So, guys, we are going to the topic for today is for us to be able to understand what are the ways in which you can crack tech jobs. How do tech companies shortlist candidates? And for that, we have Shubhendu. He is a software developer, a senior software developer, FDE2, and he is also one of the mentors with Masai. So he has a very good amount of experience in the world of software development, and we'll learn more about him in the next few minutes. So that's the agenda for the session. So all the people who are here on Zoom, um, could you say hi and tell us a little about yourself as to what you're doing in life? Are you a student or are you with Masai? If you can tell us a little about who you are or what kind of people here we have in Zoom, it would be helpful for Shubhendu to shape his answers. Past
Okay.
student of Shubhendu, okay? Same, okay. We'll not be able to know because every person will be.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Hmm.
So I thought the external Janta will be there, but I think the external Janta is there on YouTube and the students have joined Masai. From
Hmm.
Masai have joined in.
Okay. Probably, yeah.
Okay. So Shubhendu, let's start. I
Sure.
think we'll keep the introduction a little unique.
Hmm.
So suppose you're sitting in an interview and the HR asks you, Shubhendu, tell me about yourself.
Hmm.
So how would you answer that?
That's a very good question and sometimes a tricky question. So, I'll just introduce myself. I don't want to go into exact way of introducing myself right now. So, express your name and then just tell what exactly, you are doing. It's in a very simple term. I will tell, hey, I am building some solution XXX for YY users. So, how exciting or interesting you can make your introduction that can catch the complete interview is something that you need to work on. So we normally ignore these things. We just say, hey, my name is Shubhendu, I am studying at this particular place and I have done this project, and then I like to play cricket or something like that. This is a very trivial example, which sounds okay, right? But in any interviews, what exactly normally excites the interviewer as well, that hey, how good he is in interacting as well, right? If you set some context from the very start, and when I say some context, the very starting point is introduce yourself or tell me about yourself. So what I look for, or what it can be very much exciting, hey, I am building something, some product XX, for which is being used by YY user, and cite some example that will give an insight. Hey, he is doing something great, he is a good engineer as well, he knows what exactly he is doing. And then you somehow tell, okay, in the in my leisure time or in my free time, I used to do this particular thing, but I also like to explore some of the technical blocks or some kind of engineering blocks, where I can see how whatever I have built, how it can be scaled further and do XX amount of things. So kind of introducing yourselves in a bit different way than the typical or traditional way, where you just say that, okay, I am doing something like that, kind of make you a bit better or more comfortable, or the interviewer will feel more comfortable with you, talking to you, discussing with you, opening up with you. If you not do that, then basically what will happen is that it will be more of a Q&A game, where interviewer is asking the questions and you are just giving an answer. So that smile, whenever you are basically explaining something, there should be some expressions as well while you kind of doing it. It should so that you are kind of excited towards the interview. It should not be that you are just coming it for the sake of job. It should be there's an excitement while you are giving an interview for that. So maybe I'll just say that, hey, my name is Shubhendu. I am building a solution X for this firm, which is which is catering the need of YY customers and kind of generating a revenue of $X6 billion or $X6 million. Apart from part time, I look out different engineering blocks and some reading books basically, which will help enhance my knowledge and build a more scalable system, which eventually kind of make my customer happy and eventually will lead to a better sleep of mine as well. So that's in a short I will kind of explain myself, or I do explain what about me to anyone who is asking me that.
Okay. Okay. And what kind of questions have you been asked in your tech interviews that you remember that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, that's a very it's a very broad question to be fair. I have given interviews, a decent amount of interviews, not too much. I've taken a lot of interviews, given a lot of interviews as well. So again, that comes to basically what exactly you are trying to do or what exactly you are trying to achieve. Now, say for a fresher, a fresh grad, the quality of questions is basically different compared to the quality of questions to a experienced grad, right? So considering the folks here who has mostly been targeting, as a fresher, as a new joiner, uh, the main intention of the interview for any top firm company, first of all, is say they try to judge it on a common ground. That's where this data structures and algorithm comes up. And I believe everyone is kind of aware of what exactly data structure and algorithm is. So in a very simple term, if I give you a very simple example, you have to find the top key elements in a particular stream of data. You are been thrown some stream of data is coming. You have to figure it out at any point of time, what are the top key elements, right? That's a very simple question which has been asked a lot of times, right? Or you have been given some dictionary as in like some arrays which has n number of words. You have to figure it out, which word has the maximum count or the frequency. So these are very specific or simple examples or very well-known questions, but in a very simple term, for any grad who is targeting is any fresh grad who is targeting any top firm company or even startups or anything, there will be surely one round of data structure algorithm which they focus on, right? So one of the question was top k frequent elements. Now there are a lot of variations of these questions, right? Which any of the company can twist it. They can say top key numbers instead of top key numbers. They will just twist the question and say, hey, you have been given a stream of leaderboard, right? Someone ranking is coming on, score is coming on. You have to figure it out which user has the maximum score. Now this is basically the same questions, but it's a variation of the problem. And that's where a lot of students or a lot of the guys struggle as well, that they have kind of solved that particular problem, but they have solved for the purpose of just solving it. They don't want to kind of relate it to what exactly can be a twister of this problem or what could be the variation of this problem. So the intention is whenever you are going to interview or whenever you are solving a problem, make sure that you understand what exactly is the gist of the problem, how it can be related to a real world problem or any alternative problem as well. If you have that context, then it becomes very easier for you to determine or boil down that XX problem to the problem that you have solved, right? So that is one aspect of the things. Second aspect is that there can be a completely new problem which is not solved, which you have not solved. In a very simple term, if I ask you that, you have to find, there is an array, right? Now what you have to do is that you have four elements, or you can say one number which is repeated four times, and rest all elements are not repeated, right? And the number range is between 1 to n. So this becomes a newer problem. But the thing is that you might have solved a problem similar to that, where you have been said that, hey, you have been given a number from 1 to n, two elements, one element is basically repeated and one element is missing. You have to find the missing element. Now the point is that the other problem is a newer problem, but it will surely boil down to the approach that you have kind of solved it. So you have to keep up this mind open that, hey, we have solved this problem, right? It doesn't mean that you have to boil down it to the same problem, but you can get some insights from the problem you have solved, some of the starting point, what was there in that problem, and then you can build a solution on top of it. You will be thrown newer problems. This was a very simple example. There will be a lot of newer problems, but it won't happen that you won't be able to solve that problem. Reason being is that you have understood different topics that is required to solve that problem. No one is going to throw you a problem where you don't know what exactly will be the underlying data structures and algorithm. So the intention is that if you are unable to think of the solution right at that point of time, what you basically do is that think of what possible data structures and algorithm you have learned and try to relate those particular data structures and algorithm to fit in this solution, and try to cut it out saying that, hey, this is not applicable. And then if you find, okay, this particular data structure is applicable, try to build a solution for that. This is just a reverse kind of engineering which we do in typical software industry as well. Okay.
And what happens when you are not able to answer? Like, for instance, right now,
Mm,
all the things that you are saying was under the impression that the student will or the candidate will have an idea what to talk about, or they have an idea of how to approach it. But there can be times where you do not know
mm,
the answer, or you may have more doubts in your mind, right? So, how do
correct.
you approach this in a way that the interviewer does not take it in a negative light?
Got it. Yeah, this is a very valid point, and I have seen a lot of students, even for Masai one, who is not, just jumping into the solution. So that is the biggest negative point, I will say. So what happens as an interviewer, what exactly we do or anyone in the industry do, they have to fill some feedback form based on what exactly you performed well, what exactly you did not perform well. So whenever I or an interviewer will throw you a question, if you directly start saying, hey, I will start use this data structure, and then you start coding, then that's a big red flag. Why? Because interview is not just about solving a problem. Interview is more of a collaboration thing as well. Engineering is a collaborative thing. Interview is also a collaborative thing. You have to talk with the interviewer. You have to tell him your complete thought process. So in a typical world, if you ask me a question, what I will do is that, first of all, I will clear the requirements. Okay, what exactly is the expectation from this question? There can be something, you have been given an array, right? And you have to do XX number of operations there. Now, a very simple follow-up question be, what kind of numbers are present in the array? What is the range of the numbers? So if those requirements are not clear, right, you are not aware of it, or interviewer has not thrown to you. Sometimes interviewer will intentionally ask you a very random questions, and it is expected out of you, you clarify the requirement, right? You clarify the requirement. So first and foremost thing is you clarify the requirement. Think of the possible, edge cases in the mind while you brainstorm the solution. Then explain a very brute force solution, whatever basic solution that comes into the mind. And I feel if you are familiar with data structures and algorithm, everyone can come up with a brute force solution, or you can say very naive solution, what do you say? So throw out that solution after you clarify the requirement, throw out that solution, brute force solution, to the interviewer saying, hey, I will try to do something like this. And then interviewer will have some cross questions. What will be the time complexity, space complexity? You kind of basically explore that. You can say that, okay, this particular algorithm will do this number of operations, and hence the time complexity is this. You should not directly say O of n or O of n square. You should say, okay, these number of operations will be there. This is, we will be doing. Hence, it will be boiling down to O of n or O of n square. Then follow-up question will again come, hey, can we optimize the time complexity further? This is a typical thing. Then you start thinking, okay, what data structure we can use to optimize it? What algorithm is beneficial? If there are, some kinds of a repetitive problem that, okay, if we can store the answer of the previous calculative part, can we use dynamic programming? You start thinking on all these aspects of the thing, right? Normally what happens, when you do a lot of practice, you will eventually know this particular problem is of graph, or this particular problem is of dynamic programming. This happens. So what you will do, you will think of the solutions, and whatever you are thinking now, think out loud. Why? Because interviewer is there to guide you. He is not there just to actually listen and do a judgment on you. He will try to listen up your thought process, what exactly you are doing. And if you are going on a wrong direction, it's the responsibility of the interviewer to bring you on the right track, basically. So that's a typical, real world interview look like. So if you think out loud, she will be able to judge you on basis of what exactly you are thinking. That is a very important part. You're thinking out loud, right? And if you are going on a wrong direction, or you are diverting the track, diverting on a different track, interviewer will bring give you some hints, and then you will try to catch those hints and basically then try to solve the problem. So catching a hint also is a very trivial art, which does not comes very easily. With practice and some kind of a mock interviews, it comes with that particular thing. So if you are able to grasp that hints, then basically you will be able to come up with a more optimal solution. You propose that solution, then interviewer will ask you the time and space complexity, and then she will ask you to code, right? So this complete process is broken down into different chunks. Now what if you are not able to code? You are able to code partially. Now interviewer can give a high move ahead call, or not move ahead call, based on how many rounds that company is taking. Some company take 5 rounds, and if you are able to, there is a very complex problem, and you are able to, after a lot of hints and or something, you are able to actually come up with some solution, and you are able to write the code. He might give you a low hire kind of a thing, that okay, she is able to code it within stipulated time with lots of hand holding. But even if you are not able to code it, and it was an easier problem, right? And then you were given a lot of hints, and then you are not able to code it, then basically it's a time to actually retrospect yourself and practice hard. Because rarely it will be possible that they will pass you, right? Because if they have a limited set of candidate as well, right? You are fighting for a position. For a single position there are 1,000 or 10,000 of candidates as well. So whenever someone is giving hints, try to capture that and build a solution at least, right? So having some piece of code ready by end of the interview will kind of ensure that you have something ready, and you have something ready which can be demonstrated to the interviewer, and she can take a call. So you try to break it down different chunks. If at any point of time, if you are not following and directly jumping into the solution, and you are not able to solve the solution, then not able to solve the problem, then it's clearly is a strong no, reject kind of thing. So if you do things in a process, then at least there is the chance that you are able to arrive at a situation where interviewer can take a call. Hey, can I pass him to say that okay, it's a weak hire, but it can be she can be judged in the next round of interview as well. So following a process also is very important, rather than just jumping into the solution and giving up the solution. That is something what an interviewer, at least I or a couple of my folks, looks around it.
Okay. So now all the conversations that we had was in a situation where the interviewer is sitting right in front of you.
Hmm.
But right now we all know that recession is there and there are a lot
Mhm.
of challenges around hiring and everything else. In
Hmm.
fact, more than hiring, we hear of hiring news.
Mhm.
So in a situation like this, how do you recommend freshers? So most of the audience that we have here is freshers, not experienced folks.
Correct.
So how should these guys go about attracting the attention of the interview?
Got it. So there are a couple of things here, right? So first of all, the market is in a different situation right now. So job opportunity is something which is on a lesser side. A lot of folks are not getting calls right now. Now the main question, guys, if you are getting a call, how do you make sure that basically you are kind of edging over any other one, right? Again, there is no shortcut for it. The only thing what I feel is that what everyone should do is that practice, right? If you're not, you should not wait that, hey, currently the market situation is not correct, and once I get an opportunity, I'll prepare it for 7 days or 10 days, right? Like that. So the idea here is, don't spend much time in thinking that I will do this thing. That is the biggest bottleneck for anyone to not succeed. You do it right at the same point of time when you think that I need to practice and practice things. Because when you get an opportunity, you won't get a second chance. Because for that single position, now the market has expanded. A lot of people are fighting compared to what it used to be earlier. So how do you stand it out? That's what you have to prepare it, right? And how you can stand it out, you should structure yourself, right? When I say structure, it's structured in sense of practice. How many hours you have to practice? Give, if it required 12 hours, 14 hours, give it. This is the time when you have to kind of practice hard, right? Then structure, give mock interviews. If you give mock interviews, you will be able to understand what is your limitations, what is exactly your shortcomings, right? So you prepare yourself so that when you are given an opportunity, you should not spoil that opportunity saying that, I was not prepared and I was not able to answer that question, right? Because going into the interview, and if you're following a structure, hey, I'll do these things, particular things in the interview, you will be able to crack it. But if you think that I will get an opportunity, then I will start practicing these topics, what they will come, and you might able to hamper that interview by yourself. So try to be focused, try to be prepared beforehand, try to be always ready for getting the chance, because you never know when the chance will arrive for you, right? It will arrive at any point of time. That's a very important thing, which I see in, students, or even I was also doing. Okay, when the interview comes, I will prepare it for 7 days or 10 days, like that not always help. If the market is very good, then it can help, but right now the situation is not very good, so you have to keep up yourself till the day you have been getting in, till the day when you get an opportunity. That is the core thing. Practice, nothing else.
Okay, practice, be prepared. And is there any way, are there any online platforms where you can start getting inbound requests? Like, so for instance,
Hmm.
if you contribute actively to open source projects, and some of those open source projects are one of the places where a lot of talent acquisition folks will go, especially to hire
Exactly.
software developers.
Correct.
So, can you give us some ideas around the
Yeah,
online
there.
platforms?
Correct. There are, I mean, folks, I think a lot of folks are already active on LinkedIn, but maybe not the right place to. Basically, you cannot get the call immediately. There is something called angel.io kind of a thing, where a lot of startups basically post up their job proceedings, and you can try it out there as well. There are a couple of portals, like I forgot the name basically. I don't remember the name, but this one is very much Angelo.io. And what exactly we need to look for? There are a lot of companies which has this open source program, right? Now, I don't have a list right now, but there is some site, I forgot the name of that, where what you can do is that you can see what exactly companies are actually looking for open source programs. Now, if you try to look into their open source project, and then you basically try to contribute into their open source project, and then kind of send them some kind of a mail to their careers portal or something like that, that hey, this is something I'm interested in, I have developed this particular thing. It might come up in their list that hey, he's doing something good, we can give him some job interview call, something like that. So Angel.io, I think, is one where a lot of startups or something is actually posting the jobs where you can try to uh, get a hand of it there. Now, similarly, there are a couple of other portals as well. I like I don't remember the names right now. Maybe I can share it offline with a couple of folks as well. But there are a lot of folks where you can try to apply it. Now, it does not guarantee basically that you will get a job call, but what it takes, whatever is in our hand, we should do that. We should not focus too much that why we are not getting the call on the call, or why we are not been able to get selected, at least the resume part. So I think resume part will again be another question for me probably, but I'm just thinking that there are a lot of polls, or wherever you are getting career portals, or if you have a friend in different companies, ask for reference with a proper statement. Don't just say that hey, I wanted to get referred to this company. Search on their career portal, get the job ID, and then send it to basically to your friend or anyone. Hey, I want to be part of this because of this reasons, and then send the resume. Again, you cannot get 100% clarity that they will refer you, because everyone is busy, and it's not very easy for everyone to actually refer to you. So applying on the career portal, then LinkedIn, Naukri, and then there are a couple of other sites as well. Someone says hiris.com. Yes, I have not heard about it. Antel.io. Then basically, pinging to some recruiters basically on LinkedIn. If you are lucky, you will get a reply if there is an opening for that. These are some of the ways you can try it out. But does nothing guarantees you will get a job call, right? The only thing guarantees is that whenever you got an opportunity, you have to strike hard, right? Because it's difficult to get an interview call when you're starting it. Once you enter into it, it becomes bit easier, comparatively easier compared to directly coming into the industry.
Do you want to share any stories of rejection? I mean, you
Yes,
have changed 2 3 jobs, and
yes,
I
yes,
believe
yes.
to crack one, you need to pass through many rejections. So, do you mind
Yeah.
sharing some of those stories?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's the same company, right? That's a very interesting story for me. In Amazon only, I think that's one of my dream companies. So Amazon used to be the biggest company that. So I think I'm not introduced myself, but I am a graduate from NIT Jamshedpur, computer science engineering. So that in that term, basically, Amazon is something which everyone dreamed of. I think most of the folks, in this group might also want to go into a big firm company, which everyone dreamt of. Is that in third year, basically, Amazon came for internship. I think I got rejected that time, and I was not able to perform well. That it's not that that was a genuine rejection. That I was not able to solve the problem, and I was approaching it that someone throw me a question, I was directly jumping into the solution. So I realized the mistake from that. I retrospect myself from that, and then in fourth year again, Amazon come for full time placement, right? At that point of time, I again got rejected. But I did improve compared to last time. In this time, basically, I was able to answer queries retrospect, or you can say ask questions, clarify the requirements, and then basically proceed into the uh, solving the problem. So I think there were 4 or 5 rounds. So I think I reached out till 4 round. Last time could not reach out because in third round I did not perform very well, and fourth round I was kind of an average. I was performing average there. So in Amazon only, I got rejected again, second time. Then I think I tried Amazon in probably after first year of job. Then I went on to join a company called Optum. As again, it's a very uh, good company in terms of a health industry. It's a very renowned company. UHG is known there. So I started working there. But after 1 year, I gave, I think, one interview for Amazon again for SD1. Again, I got rejected. This time I got rejected in online assessment only, right? Because I was trying it off campus, I got rejected in online assessment only. I was not able to solve 2 out of 2 problems. I, for some reasons, I don't know why, but I was not able to solve that problem. So 3 times I rejected. Then I again applied for SD2. I think 1.5 year back, almost 1 year back, Amazon. And this time I was able to crack it. And to be fair enough, this was my best interview of my entire life. I worked with Uber or SCGM, UHG, and I cracked a couple of other Microsoft as well. I cracked the interviews, and one or two companies you get. But this was something like one of the best interview I've given till date. So if you see, I once dreamt of being going into an Amazon. That's everyone has some kind of a dream when in the college. And then I got rejected thrice by Amazon, and then I kind of went into Amazon again in the fourth time there. So a moral of the story is that you don't give up on your dreams, right? I mean, whatever it takes, you chase that particular dream. And you keep on working hard. You keep on preparing things. You retrospect yourself. What went wrong in my last interview. You might not get the complete details from the you know um, interviewer, that okay, what exactly is wrong in the interview or how you can improve that. But it's on you how you need to retrospect that. That's also an art. You need to learn how do you want to retrospect that. So you kind of keep learning, keep improving, and then eventually you kind of go into that particular place where you want to do that. So this is something which I always used to tell, that it's not that I got into some big company in just one thing or something like that. It takes some time as well, some rejections as well, and then basically finally be into that particular place. So rejections are a part of success. That's as simple as that.
Hmm. How did it feel to join Amazon after so many attempts?
Okay, it's also very tricky question, because when you dream of something, everywhere, in child, basically, whenever I was, or anyone was child, everyone has a kind of a dream, some kind of fantasy kind of a dream. Hey, I want to become a cricketer. I want to do this, that, all this. So it was a kind of a dream when I was in college. Everyone wants to be in Amazon, and I also want to be in Amazon. And it was like, okay, when I was rejected, it feel disheartened at first, right? So for a day, sometime happened. Immaturity was there in college. I did not have food for a day, something like that. So now when I turn back and feel into the Amazon, it feels good that okay, what I expected or I dreamt of, I actually got into that. Okay, so that excitement, what it would have been when I had thought of a dream, that would have been more. But when I am here, this the mature me just says that hey, that was something which was unfulfilled or unfinished. I have fulfilled it or I have finished it, right? So it feels good from internally. You can, kind of the wish list or bucket list, one thing you can cross it out and you can say, hey, I have done this particular thing. And it's a very exciting journey till now. I'm, a very exciting journey to be a part of the team I'm working on, and all these particular things. So it feels good actually to achieve something what you have dreamt of, or what you have started to dream of.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely feel brilliant doing something like that. One thing that I've observed or I've gotten feedback from students is sometimes interviewers like to ask about the future goals and aspirations of the candidate, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, how should one go about tackling answers like that? Because अगर मैं बोलूँगा that
Hmm.
sir I want to do masters or
Hmm.
something like that for after 1 year, then the HR may be like, maybe we should not take this person in.
Correct.
So
Hmm.
how should one answer this question?
That's a good question. I think it's a very good behavioral questions as well. Matlab, normally folks ask as a part of behavioral interviews, right? Or HR round basically there. So I basically normally break it down in two parts, right? So everyone has an aspiration, right? So my first question boiled down to, and I also ask a lot of folks as well, why do you want to become a software engineer? That's a very first thing, right? If you have the answer of why you want to become a software engineer, you can build an answer on top of it, why, what you want to do in next 5 years, or what do you want to do in next 10 years. So in next 5 years, what basically you want to do is you want to build some things, out of yourself independently. You want to design a system, or you want to build a system which can serve this number of users, and it could be scalable as much as possible, right? And I want to kind of own a team, or lead a team of XX engineers who is building this particular product. That's my, kind of a goal. I want to build something like this particular. So you do some background research for that company. That is very important. Now if you're doing some background research for that company, you can say that, okay, hey, I want to build some kind of product which will impact this number of users, or useful to this number of users by end of 5 years, and I would be somehow leading a team of, say, suppose 10 members or XX members by 10 years particular thing. That I can say is something called an achievable goal, and you can quantify those numbers. So if you quantify those numbers, it becomes very evident, saying that, hey, this he has a vision, he has a clear cut vision, that, hey, he is looking out for this particular thing. In 10 years he will be, with us and doing this particular thing, leading a team of 10 engineers, or designing some very scalable system, generating xx number of revenues. So normally when you do a research, you try to see what exactly that company is doing, or what exactly the vision of this company is doing, and you build your answer on around the vision of that company, and give some data points to this particular company. That's why what I feel, I have not been asked this particular question more than once, and I have gave this kind of answer itself. I think that was my first company where I was working. I was asked this particular question, and I built a solution around that. Okay, next 5 years I'll be designing a scalable system, and try to serve XX number of traffics there. And in the next 10 years, I'll be probably, leading leading a team with XX number of engineers, who can, build more scale, more detailed product, which can generate XX amount of revenue to the company. So that's how you build a solution, answer to this particular problem.
Interesting. Okay. So you're saying one should be honest about it.
Yes. Yes, because if you are not honest about it, and if interviewer catches it, that's a big red flag. You are not going to move forward. So honesty is something, you can build a solution. You can, put some data points, some random data points, what you think, because everything cannot be quantified, right? Everything cannot be quantified. You can quantify as much as possible, but be honest. What exactly is your expectation? Because if someone asks me what exactly excites you about software engineering, my answer is very simple. I like the engineering because I see if I'm building something and it is somehow I am telling to the my end user, yeah, or my mom or dad, I'm telling, hey, you are using this particular thing, I have built this particular thing, right? Or I go outside and say, you are using this, I have built this particular thing. So that's satisfaction. If customer is satisfied with that, right, it not be a case for every time, but indirectly, if you are satisfying this particular thing, or if you are aware of the system, for me, I get a better sleep with that particular thing, right? If I'm able to mentor someone, or if I'm able to build a system, a highly scalable system which end user is consuming, is happy with it, that satisfies me more than anything in this world. And that's my main reason of why I like to do a software engineering, because engineering is a very it's a very broad thing. It's not a very small thing. You build a system, it requires a lot of knowledge, a lot of systems idea, how exactly different systems are built. So that complete thing, how systems are built and what exactly is your goal, learning about all these systems is very exciting to build a system of your own, right? And ultimately why we are building system, because somehow it will kind of impact an end user and generate revenues as well to the company, which is a byproduct of it. So goal should be learning part. That's the more interesting. This software engineering has a lot of learning capabilities there. And eventually it kind of give me a better, happiness in my life that, okay, hey, I've learned this particular thing. I can apply this particular thing and I can build a product which can serve millions of customers at point of time. So that's my intention why exactly I like software engineering. So everyone should be clear what exactly they are looking for as a software engineer, because there are a lot of roles out there. But software engineer is something you have to be excited about it if you really want to excel in this particular thing, if you really want to become a software engineer. But there should be some data points or some reasons why exactly you want to be a software engineer. Then that will actually help to give you an honest answer.
Hmm. Okay. So far, what we have been doing is we have been figuring out ways to answer the question of the interviewer.
Correct.
Now, I have two final things to discuss
Mm-hmm.
before we close.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of questions should the candidate ask the interviewer? Because a lot of times, um, when the interviewer asks the candidate, "Do you have any questions for me?" the candidate will be like, "No, sir," or "No, ma'am,"
Mm-hmm.
and that is often taken negatively. So,
Correct.
what kind of questions should a candidate ask?
Correct. I think this boils down to the same thing, which probably I have sticked in previous answer or previous to previous answer. Whenever you are interviewing for any company, make sure you do a basic background research of what exactly company does. If you I don't know how many have you read the job description, right? If you are applying for a role, I don't know how many of you read the job description, right? So very basic thing is like, if it's a technical interviewer, you can't expect that particular guy to be aware of the complete business end to end. So for if someone is asking if it's a technical interview where you have been asked some technical questions, so there can be something, right? Which tech stack you are using, what exactly your team is building, what is the scale of your system, right? Scale as in like how many customers it is serving, right? And why if someone says, hey, we are using this particular thing, this particular framework, what exactly you get benefit of using this particular framework, right? So you ask couple of questions: what is the tech stack, what is the scale on you are operating, why, what are the reason of choosing this particular language, was there any specific reason, or was it very exciting, something on those lines. Then you can ask, right, what exactly is the impact ultimately, or if you are aware of that particular system, you can say that, okay, why this particular service, why you have not built this particular thing, why you have not built this particular feature into this, or what exactly you are planning to provide this particular thing. They might not give you a complete answer, but they can give you some overview of what exactly they are building and what exactly they are planning, what is the scale of their system, what is the language and framework they use. These 3 to 4 questions in technical interview can be repetitive to other interviewers as well, but you need to ask these kinds of questions to the technical interviewer. Now, if the interviewer is taken by some engineering managers or HR, you are feel free to ask, what is the next vision of the company, what exactly how exactly the company is operating. Is there any cultural barrier that if I want to put some thought process to some senior folks, do I have to go to some hierarchy or something like that? So these are the questions which you can ask to engineering managers or some HRs as well, who know more about the vision of the company and all these things. For technical part, you can focus on technical aspects, how does the system works, basically scale and all this part. So 3 to 4 questions of technical part and 3 to 4 questions which I said about the HR thing or engineering manager is something which you can kind of build different questions out of these questions. So normally I used to repeat these 3 questions with a context of what exactly that particular member or which particular team that particular interviewer is belonging to. right? So that will give you some unique questions as well. So another interviewer is belonging to another team, so similar questions with some twisted based on what exactly he she is working on. So that will show you, hey, he is really excited about my tech stack, what exactly architecture we are building, or about the company's vision as well and company's culture as well. So these are the few points which you should always worry about or think about before asking, or it should be beforehand. You should prepare these things that I will be going to ask these kind of questions and mold the question based on the interviewer's response. But make sure you do ask this question, ask the questions always. Don't say no, I am good. Even though your interview is bad, interview like you, it does not go well, you should ask questions. Even though you ask one question or two questions, but you should ask one or two questions at least.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, asking a question, or you can just ask a question like, what kind of work environment can I expect, or
Yes, fair enough. That's, that's where
what salary to expect.
salary is something which you can ask in the final HR round. The manager or technical guy won't be able to do that, and that's where the a tricky, kind of twisted question becomes. If I want to propose some idea, how do I can propose an idea at the top level, right? Should I have go to some hierarchy or like that? That will give an insight of the same thing, how the company culture look like, right? So company culture is a very broad term. You can break it down into a simple term. You can ask engineering manager, how does a normal day in day out life in your team goes like? So she can say, hey, my engineer wakes up, engineer joins the team. There is a scrum call or a stand up call, and then she works on it, and then there is some fun activity meeting and all these things. Then regular deployment, right? Regular deployment. So different teams follow different patterns of deployment. Some follows weekly deployment, some follows daily deployment. So these are the questions, whatever you are doing in your day-to-day life, right? You are building some project and you are deploying those things. Frame questions around that and try to put it in the same thing to the interviewer. What exactly they are doing, what exactly you are doing, what exactly they are doing. That becomes exciting, right? And you don't have to worry about what to ask.
Agreed. And final question. How do you go about salary negotiations? The first question the HR will ask is, what is your expectation? So, especially in software development roles, I mean, I've heard crazy stories about negotiation of salaries. So, can you tell us how to go about that?
Frankly, I'm not good at that. I'm not the guy who will answer that question very cleanly. I have also heard a lot of stories that, uh, so I won't should not say this particular thing, but normally what happens and what people says, and it's fine to do that, right? There's no harm to do that. If you have multiple offers, you can clearly say that, oh, I have offered X amount from this company, and I was expecting this particular thing. And if you are willing to increase this particular thing, this is a typical way which most of the engineers say that, but recruiters do say, hey, this is unfair and all these things. But similarly, it's unfair on your side as well. You are giving employee X of same year of experience some good amount, and you are giving me with same years of experience with same same interview process and same performance, you are giving me less amount. Then it becomes a thing that, okay, you are judging me based on my past salary. So here are different kind of offers I have, and then you try to negotiate saying that, hey, this is my offer. Don't share those offer later, basically, because all those are confidential, so you should not share that. But that is one way of doing it, right? Second way is that, what's the one way is that you basically do a research. That's the very first thing. If someone asks you what is your expectation, you should not say XX amount, right? You should do a market research and you have a valid data points. When I say valid data points, there is if you go on leadcode.com/discuss section, there are a lot of there is a section called compensation, where all the different interviewers or interviews who got into different companies, they post their salaries, right? Anonymously, right? Anonymously they post their salaries. You see what exactly, based on what experience, what is the average amount that folks are getting, right? And you work on the which company you are negotiating. You see the salary, because everything is available online, right? You will search it. There will be a lot of sections, Glassdoor and levels.fyi, and all these things will be available. You research for that company as well, right? What exactly is they try to give it. Now, what exactly they try to give it, they will not give it if you don't ask more than 20% more than that. So what is your what exactly you want to settle in? Always ask 20% more than that. Remember that, or you can ask more than that. But whatever is something is the minimum requirement, you should ask that particular thing. Okay, this is my expectation, and that expectation should be at least 20% more than what exactly you can settle in. Okay, and you do say that, okay, I had done some research, and the current market average I see is kind of a this, and from the interview that I have given, I feel I did perform good, right? So my expectation is something around this particular thing, and it will be good if we can manage this, and then it will go to and forth. But don't just give you come back saying that, hey, I will be okay to adjust this particular thing. This is not applicable in the current scenario, to be fair, because the opportunities are very less, right? But you should put a point, right? You should not accept it in a single go. You should kind of say that, okay, hey, these are the concerns. You should kind of say that, this is the market research, this is the market expectation currently of my years of experience, and the way I performed in the interview. Always mention that the way I performed in the interview, because what will they throw it? Yeah, you did not perform well in the interview and something like that. So you do say that, I think I performed well in the interview, and I think based on the market standard, I should be getting this amount of money there. You should do that. And another is the first point that I've said. If you have counter offers, then that is the kind of, you can say, brahmastra kind of thing that will give you a lot of insights. Okay, if companies is really willing to hire, they will say, okay, I'll match it, or I'll give you more than that. Okay. uh, so one thing I'll always tell that, don't accept it saying that, okay, just I will, if someone give you an offer letter, don't say that, okay, I will revert back in a 1 day or something. Take your time, think and analyze it, and then revert it. Don't immediately say, okay, I accept the offer, because it's a process, right? HR or the recruiter is sitting there to hire you, and uh, they want to close their position as well. That's their job, that's their part of the job, right? So you are also eligible or responsible for your career. So you should take your time to analyze it, discuss with your parents or some of the colleagues or some of the senior members who know or who is in this industry. Hey, I'm getting this particular thing, is this worth it or not? Right? So discuss all these things and then revert it, saying after 2 days or something, I'll revert back. So take your time to analyze it as well, right? And then do a counter kind of a thing, saying, okay, hey, I did this particular thing, and I think this is something on the lower side. I'm willing to join at this particular amount of time. Some to and fro will come there, and then eventually you have to settle it down, whether if you really, there is no option right now, you have no alternative, then you want to take a job, you can settle it. But if you have an options, till then you can find some different options. And when you have once you have a counter offer, then whatever statement you have said, that this offer will give you a lot of weight on that statement. So it becomes very beneficial that don't just limit yourself to one particular interview. Okay, try to get multiple offers as well, and that's how different folks try to do that. Okay.
Especially in the world of software engineering.
Yes, yes. And I'm not saying, again, this is a debatable thing whether it's fair or not. Ultimately it is about your career, right? So and it's important what exactly is right. It's not about being wrong or being right here, it's about career. So if you are not happy with xx amount, then you are not going to grow it. That's as simple as that, right? Your mind will be diverted only on that particular point of time. So there is no point of actually being unfair, saying, hey, you are kind of taking my offer and going to another company saying it's more. It's a debatable, everyone thinks has a different opinion on that. But think in terms of growth, right? What exactly you expect, you want more, and then it's fair to ask it, right? So that is completely fine, and it happens a lot in software world. Trust me, this is the best negotiation thing that everyone does.
True, true, true. It does happen a lot in the software development world.
Yes.
Okay. So my last question to you before we close, Shubhendu, is there any piece of advice that you'd like to share with our audience here?
Yeah. So I'll just collate it because I've seen couple of things. So moving from backwards. So on an interview day, see, it's a very simple thing. In interview is not just about being, knowing everything. Sometimes it's not your day, even though you have worked hard, even though you know things. It might be because it's not a day for you. It happened with me. It happened with a lot of other folks. Every folk has this. Everyone who has given an interview, they know it. It's about day as well. Foremost thing what I'll say is that don't give up, or don't feel sad that okay here, don't see that okay, hey, I'm not able to crack the software engineering, I'm not fit for this role. If you have worked hard, if you are really passionate or kind of interested in software field, right? So not today, but someday you will be able to do that, right? But if you are not able to crack some particular interview, and if you keep on thinking that particular thing, what will happen? It will impact your practice, and eventually when you get an opportunity, and you might see that in opportunity you got an easy question, but you are not able to solve it. Why? Because you started thinking of the previous interview, I was not able to crack it. You are not spend time on thinking it rather than focusing on more and more practice, and eventually you hamper your second interview. So from my experience, I have always seen whatever happened in the interview room, keep it in the interview room, right? Or keep it to that 1 hour itself, right? Only thing you should take out of that interview is that how can I improve it? Nothing more than that. If you keep on doing it eventually you will get an opportunity. After 99 failures, there will be one success for sure. I'm not for sure, but even one success over 999 attempts. But there will be one thing, because you really want to be into this particular field, you are practicing hard. It's just about the one right day, and what all shortcomings you have identified yourself, working on that and figuring out how to build a solution on top of it. That is a very important thing which I have seen, or a lot of folks try to do. If they don't get interview on something, they kind of stop practicing things, and then when suddenly interview comes, they kind of messed up that interview. So that is a very strong thing. And then always follow the structure, whatever I said, go with this particular thing. Second thing, keep things very simple. When I say keep things very simple, try to explain whatever questions you are solving, try to explain or try to record in the phone, and that try to listen it yourself. Are you able to explain it clearly or not? Or try to explain it to someone in your family, can be father, mother as well, right? If you are able to explain it to your father or mother, you will be able to explain to the interviewer as well. That's as simple as that, right? Because communication is a very great thing, right? Or you can say communication is very important thing, where whatever you are thinking, if you can't articulate it in simple manner, interviewer, even though you solve a problem, you will be rejected. Interviewer looks out for how exactly you are solving. So communication is something which you need to work on, or which you need to practice. Try to record on your phone and see whether you are, whatever you are saying, does it making sense? Listen it to 2 to 3 times. Or pull up your brother, sister, father, mother, and try to explain something. I'm not saying explain every question. At least in once in a week, try to take 2 or 3 questions and try to explain them. What exactly you are thinking, does it making some sense or not, in a very simple term. Okay, that is very important. And last and important thing is, uh, work on your resume as well, right? Because resume is something, whenever you are building a resume now, try to add some data points. When I say data points, if you see from my introduction to my explanation to everything, I have introduced XXYY or some numbers to 2 billion, 3 billion, something like that. That is very important. If you are aware of the numbers, if you are aware of the data points, if someone sees that, that will give you an edge over any other thing. So try to jot some data points into your resume as well, wherever possible. It's not possible everywhere, but try to jot down some strong data points, increase customer experience, or some numbers, some metrics, right? And bold that thing, make it in the bold thing, right? Dark, you can say, compared to other stuff there. So these three, along with the main thing, just keep practicing. Don't think of the interview that has gone bad. Keep on practicing. Will actually help you succeed. Even after some period of time, you need to be patient. There is no other way. To basically get into this job, right? Because software engineering is basically, so imagine how many engineers are there, not everyone gets a job, right? And how many jobs are there compared to engineers, and how many jobs are there? So there is a lot of competition, right? So you need to struggle, right? But some struggle needs to be done, right? If you don't struggle something, you'll not get that excitement of that, why you want to be in software engineer field. So I think these 3 or 4 points are there which I think I started following recently. Recently, as in like after 2 to 3 years in my job industry, I started following these things, and I expect folks to work around these particular things. If you are calm enough, patient enough, then things will fall in place eventually.
One thing that I will pick up from the conversation today is you need to struggle. It is
Yes.
important. So
Yes. And I know because I connected with there are a couple of folks in my head as well. It's a very very common thing. A lot of your instructors as well will say that you have to struggle. It's something very important which folks might miss it. Everyone wants to serve everything on the plate. That doesn't happen, right? In this typical world, it doesn't happen that everything comes by default on your plate. You have to work hard, you have to struggle. I mean, struggle is not uh, go and sleep 20, go and don't sleep 24 hours, or something like that. Struggle is like work hard. You have to grasp the opportunity when it comes to you. That's basically the struggle here.
yes, yes, struggle, especially when recession is happening, then you struggle even harder.
Correct.
Um,
Yes.
okay. Thanks so much for coming in, Shivendu, and taking out 1 hour to talk that to on a weekday.
Yeah,
And
no
for all the
problem.
people who've been tuned in and listening to us, thank you so much. We hope you derive some value out of this. And yeah, that's all we can conclude. Thanks, Shivendu. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye. Thanks, Shashank. Thanks, everyone.